All right, there we go.
Got it?
Now we're up.
Okay.
Live on my side.
Good. Well, I will be live on my side.
Comfort's getting ready.
In a minute.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put up the streaming.
I'm not sure what you guys are going to see, but on my video, it's flipped. Let me take a look.
Oh, yeah, it was flipped on mine too, and then you said it wasn't flipped on your side.
Yeah, it's not. I'm looking at playback over here, and it's fine. So it just looks flipped while it's live. So, okay. So, hey, everybody. How's it going? How's your night going?
Hey,
how's your week been?
Are you, sir, making sure?
Oh, to record this. Oh, son of a bee. Let's see. Let's see if I can.
So, how are you doing?
I am going to.
Directly through?
Yes, I'm doing it directly through. Still haven't figured out how to do it through something else. So I'm going to see if I can bring up my Streamlab and record with it. YouTube doesn't like to share. Hey, Shadow. And he says, we're fine. So I'm guessing you and Jamie are there. We're doing good, man. Let's hope. I'm trying to get up.
Just the simplest of the programs would be fine for.
Yeah, we'll see. Trying to get up cam so I can record this while I'm streaming it, because we can't. YouTube's live stream, you can't record or save in any way.
Yeah.
So we're hoping that we can record it another way, but YouTube doesn't like to share the camera. So I'm going to try something, and if it screws things up, we might have to do a new link, and we'll see what happens. So I apologize if things get wonky. Let's see what happens.
This is all a test.
If I can even get it to come up at all, because I think that YouTube has taken total ownership of this.
Man.
Yeah. We're going to have to figure out how the hell to use a different program to go live on YouTube.
Well, at least we'll color this piece too. Like, that's the plan, right?
That's true. Yeah, we were going to do color on it.
Put up the, there's the drawing.
Yeah.
Here's the digital color.
All right. Okay, so we're not going to be able to record the marker. That sucks. But you guys will get to watch it. I guess that makes it all the more special for the Patreon stream, because this is never going to get to be seen anywhere else.
Much like the Wheeler.
Yeah. So I'm going to start digging into this guy. This was a commission we picked up at Dragon Con. And as soon as describing it, I was like, this is going to be boss as hell. And I was super looking forward to it. We have only ever done one other Mad Max piece, and Comfort got to do it. So I was excited to get to do one myself.
Oh, you love it.
I know. I also had a feeling that with Immortan Joe in there and all the gross, gnarly, nasty stuff that he is, that Comfort would have wanted me to do that part anyway. When there's that much, I suppose, there's just so much tech stuff on him, and you usually want me to do that.
I could have done it, but I would like to think this was a kindness on my part.
Okay.
One of the cooler sketches, but again, I did it in part because you, sir, gave me the last one, so it was fine.
All right. Well, I'm going to get my reference up over here.
Mad Max.
And I'm going to get to work.
Great. I am almost done posting here. Because I'm telling other people what I'm doing. And we had the interns here today, and I did not get to do all this other stuff that I would have wanted. So simulcasting will commence in a minute, but Adam, you're so lucky you get to be the first one.
And all the patron viewers get to watch this first.
Right.
While all the Twitch viewers are having to wait.
They're having to wait for my slow ass.
Usually Comfort makes me do all that stuff while she starts the stream.
That's true. Well, it depends on who's doing the thing.
Really, we should have been posting about this a while ago.
Well, you know, we posted about that a few times, and I was like, things get done in the time that they get done.
Yeah.
It's fine. I'm not terribly worried. All right, almost done. Thank God so many hashtags and ads are the same on Twitch and Facebook and all that kind of jazz. Please the Lord.
You absolutely are first, Shadow. Enjoy it. Enjoy your position of prominence.
Let's see how many people on the Twitch side, or the, not Twitch side, but the patron side, decided to show up today, since this is all such new stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, we just sort of came up with the idea Wednesday, so we didn't have a lot of time to let everybody know about it.
There we go. All right, almost set. Here I am. Share. Share now. Great. Fantastic. Things have gone up. Now, I shall go back to the digital art screen. There we go. Now that's working.
So on Comfort's side, she's going to be working on a new Uniques pinup we've been working on as like a season 2 teaser image. It's been a fun way to get comfortable with the team's new looks for the new season.
I like their new looks.
I love their new looks.
All right, so you've been working on this, and I'm going to be working on Kid Quick, Singe, and Motherboard.
Yep.
I am going to start, I think, with Kid Quick. And in here you've got the roughs, and then above the roughs,
so just go into the folder where the roughs are. I've been doing each character on their own layer,
yes,
so that they can easily be moved around or adjusted if they have to be. And we can flatten it all down when we go to color.
Sure, sure.
But for the sake of the line art, it's just easier to keep things separate, I thought.
All right, and I'm going to do this, but then lock it down once.
Yeah, lock down everything else.
Down everything. Want to say what you did?
Yeah, so the pinup, those who can see it, it's this big grid with all the different versions of each character, sort of showing different poses and personality stuff, and just sort of a fun way of doing it. Well, I accidentally deleted one of the poses for Telepath, and because it was down in the bottom corner, it was days before I realized that it had been deleted. Or actually, I have no idea when I deleted it. It could have been days ago, and I wouldn't have noticed.
I want to quick say hi to Great Angel 667. Just so you know that I see.
You know what? I'm bringing Twitch up on my side too. I should have them both up.
So you can continue your story, but I wanted to make sure that you had.
That's it. I had done something really good, and then I accidentally deleted the damn thing.
Adam is
and didn't realize it
deleting his own work.
For a long time. I am a master of deleting my own stuff, just like I'm a master of working on the wrong layer in Photoshop.
That is also
or basically any program.
Oh, honey, I love you. I'm
Yeah.
so sorry you mess up your stuff all the time.
I sure do. Boy, do I. If it's mess upable, Adam finds a way.
Adam really does.
Hey, Shadow got another commission last week for a local haunted house. That's cool.
That is awesome. And hello to Monk. I know it's been a long time, and Dean is here.
And
I haven't seen him.
Jamie's up in the Twitch covering the other side.
Huh?
Nice. So we've got you guys on both sides. That's great. Good to see everybody. It says teamwork.
Yeah, we talked so much about the uniques last time. Like, honestly, this would be really the drawing to be doing during that, but we did talk about the uniques so much last time. We haven't caught up on a whole lot of other things. There's a lot of other questions
That's
that might
true.
be out there. So, as always, please make sure to ask us whatever questions you guys like.
We're here to talk about whatever you want.
That's right.
I'll answer a question nobody asked. Yeah, the mosquitoes here are fucking terrible. Holy cow, we have
That's
entered
no
mosquito
kidding.
season with a goddamn bang.
We had
They're not
a
holding
really
back.
nice year though, seeing mosquitoes because there was a bunch of frogs around and the frogs
Yeah.
were mosquitoes.
But now they're converging on our sleepy town like vampires in 30 Days a Night.
So this was our first day with our new interns here. We put up a video with no sound. I don't know how that happened because I heard the sound.
Yeah, I don't know. Instagram
Maybe
sucks is
maybe
the
we
answer.
did something or whatever.
Probably must have. I'm sure there's a thing in there that turns off audio and I accidentally hit it while I was trying to post it. We're not really used to doing the video stuff, but we're trying to get used to it.
And Monk was hanging out with new time streamers who also draw.
Oh, nice.
Yay, that's fantastic. Carrie's listening while working again. That's great. Jason is here. Or, sorry, not Jason. Sorry, there's two WJW. So John Wilson is here. Thank you. Hello, John. It is so nice to see you. Monk does not live in Puerto Rico, but keep complaining about those mosquitoes. Or we don't live in Puerto Rico, so Monk does. All right. And yes, we do not live in Puerto Rico. We have we live here in Michigan. We live by wetlands. And so when
tropical mosquitoes the size of flies, we get some good sized mosquitoes. It's not so much the size as the number. When we go walking these days, lately, there is a cloud, like a visible cloud of mosquitoes that follow you everywhere you go.
It's no fun. I felt sorry for our poor interns today having to have a mosquito-filled walk.
I felt like I should get a sticker and a cookie for donating blood.
That's it. And Gazer, I'm glad you just got home from work. And yes, they are always the worst. They are terrible. I'm sorry for everybody who has to deal with mosquitoes, especially mosquitoes worse than what we're dealing with.
Mosquitoes?
Mosquitoes, I am sure they get worse. I've seen bugs from other countries or other parts of the United States, and I'm like, God, it's so nice here.
Shadow, you can go ahead and share. I can take a quick peek.
Share your stuff.
If you guys hear us.
Stuff, and if you want, you can always share your stuff on both platforms. So you guys are both watching here on the stream.
Tonight we're doing a special simulcast, so Comfort's working on that, and I am working on a Mad Max piece that is only visible to our patrons on our Patreon page.
So if you want to see that beautiful Mad Max piece, that is what Adam is working on.
Yeah, you can hop over to our Patreon.
That's right.
Anytime we're going to be live all night.
We actually have a couple of new tiers that we're going to do on Patreon, which is one is if we reach 500?
Yeah.
So if we reach $500, we will get another sketch that we do every month.
But this time, instead of it being for $25 and up tier members, anybody $10 and up is going to be entered for a full marker quick sketch.
Full color marker.
Yeah, right. Well, yes.
Important.
And if we get way up there, we'll start giving away free prints every month.
Yep.
People can just pick shit. Like, oh, I like that thing you did. Give me a print of it. Okay, sir. Or madam.
So we're trying to have other fancy things to entice people.
All right, so Shadow can't share the link through the YouTube stream.
Son of a gun.
But he's going to have Jamie share it over here in Twitch.
Apparently, according to Monk, tropical mosquitoes are the size of flies.
Yeah, I was seeing that. That
My God.
does not look like fun.
Some
Sounds like you
big
picked the
mosquitoes.
wrong place to live.
And yeah, gays are coming home and going to work. That's the rest of your life, babe. That is how things work. One of my favorite things, I say favorite, but I don't know if that's really the word. But I do like sharing with my new students that I have every semester how their finals time will oftentimes feel like their entire lives to come. Like finals feels bad now, but it'll feel a little bit like a breeze. Putting it in perspective, when you're older and you're doing this all the time for a living, and you're working hours and hours and hours and hours and hours on end. This is the commission.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. You posted that up on social media earlier, didn't you? I think I saw it earlier today. It's got a very Beetlejuicy vibe to it. I like it.
Very Beetlejuicy vibe.
But, you know, a clown, so automatically scarier. Although it's hard for me to imagine anything that would be scarier to me than Beetlejuice was when I was a kid.
That is some insane
Comedy
thing.
schmomedy. I did
Yeah,
not find
Beetlejuice
anything
was
about Beetlejuice funny.
Very frightening, Mr. Withers.
It's not the least bit funny.
I really enjoyed you.
There was nothing to laugh
I
about.
love you very much.
Perfectly nice, wonderful people are dead. They are dead, and they're stuck in that fucking house for the rest of their lives with super
For the rest
shitty
of their
weirdos
eternity.
for the rest of eternity.
Yes.
Blah. It's a nightmare. Nothing pleasant about that. It's nothing to joke about. In fact, I don't know if I feel weird about anybody who would want to joke about that. These are not laughing times. These are mournful times. And this creepy demon tries to destroy everything. And we're supposed to laugh?
I love you. Love you. And yes, Monk, that is indeed life. You do have to love it. So, and you have to love this work, because if you don't love this job, then this is not a job.
It is too hard, and it does not pay enough to do it if you don't absolutely love it. Fortunately, we do.
We love it greatly. We love you guys.
You guys.
Oh, so sweet. It's adorable. Yes, that's right. Smiles, hugs. And Gigs is just going to do some fan art for tonight. How lovely.
That's a fun little break.
I don't think
Stay
I've
still,
done
camera.
fan art for something in a very
Like just
long
fun of it?
time.
Yeah, it's
just
been
fun of it.
a while.
I miss those housing days.
Jamie did most of the work on that pinup, by the way.
What?
Jamie did most of the work on that pinup, so I guess she gets most of the credit.
Well,
Good job. Quick question. Says, I'm trying to come up with a cover pick for Chapter 2 of No Vacancy, but having trouble. How do we come up with ideas for our covers? We steal.
By the way, this is a question on YouTube.
From our Patreon stream. And the answer is a lot of our covers, most of our covers, in fact, are inspired by various other things from art history.
This is for Uniques.
Yes, but even in Rainbow, we were, had some inspiration from other places for the initial idea. It's just that the unique Rainbow covers were like one idea that continued across the entire series.
Yeah, there were a triptych, largely. So if you look at each set of three together, it fits as one piece, which is a left piece, a middle piece, and a right piece. So it all comes together as one. And David apparently should be inking his Dark Crystal cover, but it's not for some reason. Listening to our stream as
while coloring pieces that don't need to be colored for any deadline or purpose.
What is with you, sir?
Sometimes I guess you just gotta unwind.
Adam, It's been so long since we've really been streaming. I feel like I've missed David.
Aw.
I know.
Aw.
Like, David is our digital stream friend.
We
You know,
have a
our
lot of
friend-
digital stream friends.
I got something in my throat. It must be, I'm getting so emotional. Or I've got something in my throat. But David is our friend outside of streaming as well, but kind of the unspoken third streamer, really.
Living the con life means that we have a number of very good friends that we only see when we're out on the road.
But David, we get to see on the stream.
I would say, in fact, the majority of our friends
Yes.
we only get to see when we travel.
Yeah.
It's why, although we do dream of a day when we don't have to do conventions so exhaustively, we're always going to do them because there's too many people that we love to see when we get to go.
Luckily, we do live in the same state as David, so it's a little bit easier for
It's
David.
true, and we can find other excuses if we're traveling around the state.
We had to go speak at that art museum.
When we go see to my parents, which are on the same side of the
David and
state.
Julia, such lovely people. You guys, if you don't, you definitely follow David's stream because it's fantastic. And he's so safe.
So to get back to what we were talking about before with our covers, with Uniques, we'll always be looking for some piece of art history that can give us an idea, that gives us a feeling that works with whatever's happening in that particular issue. It can be like issue 8 was inspired in part by Picasso's, or issue 9 was inspired in part by Picasso's Blue Period.
Issue 8 was a
direct recreation of a Norman Rockwell piece. Issue 5 was based on like old children's book covers.
like the creepy kind.
Yeah.
Actually, that's issue 6 now.
Is it 6 now?
It's 6 now. Yeah.
That's right.
That's right. There are a few things here in the stream. Do you know how much time I have to go through this month here? Do you know how much time I have to go research?
The apparel or fashion these days. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, it takes time.
A lot of time. These things, there is a lot of media out there, and there's a lot to look at. I mean, you don't have to research all these things, but it makes it better.
It does tend to make it better.
Comic or
Yeah.
book or illustration, in our humble opinion.
Yeah.
We have whole Pinterest pages that
We've assembled
Yep.
for the Uniques, especially because it's set in the 90s, and so we can't just be inspired by what we see around us.
When
We
we
have
were
to.
doing Rainbow Pinterest was not as much of a thing.
No, it wasn't as
We had
necessary.
sheets that we printed out.
Yeah.
with reference.
But having a wide assortment of various 90s fashion stuff is very helpful.
Apparently, Gazer got to do some really fun promo work. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Shadow's been trying to get us invited to KitsuneCon
Where is
in Green Bay, which would be cool. We've never been to Green Bay. I'd love to do that. And we've heard a lot about KitsuneCon. Good things, I believe. Although it's hard because we've heard about so many cons at this point.
we are
That,
going to go to in not Green Bay,
Minneapolis?
but no. As the anime show in that's closer to Chicago. What's the name of the city?
I don't know what you're talking
In
about right now.
Wisconsin.
Uh,
Maybe Shadow will know, but I know we're going to that show. I'll have to look up the exact name of it. It will go onto the website. Also, just as a quick thing, The voting or the judging for the Webtoons contest is starting as of today.
Oh, really?
I tried to edit things, and apparently I cannot. Because I wanted to go in there, but no. So it would be nice if we could win, but I
highly doubt it. Oh, yeah.
Because again, just Webtoons is awesome, but unless they're featuring you a lot,
Yeah, you are not gonna.
yeah, that's a putting your finger on the scale kind of thing.
Yeah.
It would be awesome, but I don't think we have enough connections there to put gotten enough fingers on a scale for us.
Yeah.
Let's see here. David says, surprise, Adam, you're doing a con and you don't even know about it.
Shadow, it's not no brand con, but it is Milwaukee.
Okay.
Right? Milwaukee is where we're going to be?
Yes, that is it.
That's the city you were trying to think of?
Yes, that's the city I was trying to think of. Milwaukee is where we are doing a convention. I think it's like Anime Milwaukee or something simple like that. I'm trying to remember the exact name, but we are doing that. I should really be better. They're very nice people. They've invited us out. I hope to God that the weather is okay and we can get there without too much trouble. We'll leave with ample time. I know that much. And John wants to do more cons, but needs money. Apparently,
the eternal struggle.
Great Evil is unhappy with something. I am not sure with what, but
or Scary Ghost.
Yes, also Scary Ghost. That could definitely be it. I concur.
All right.
Maybe it's the unhappy with not feeling at least that we have a shot with Webtoons. Here's the only thing that I think would give us a real shot with Webtoons, because we were only featured the one time for Rainbow, is if somebody was looking at it and they were, we could sell that to a movie studio. That would be the one. Because one of the things Webtoons does is they buy a percentage of the property. So they pay for you to have your book up, but they also then are buying into properties, hoping that one of them gets made into some kind of a fantastic moneymaker, and then they own like 10%. Right now, they are owned by Korean Google, so they have kind of infinite monies. I don't know what will happen later. I always assume everything's going to be sold to somebody else. That's just my cynical me talking. It would be nice if they're always owned by the same people, with the same people working for them and all that kind of stuff. But Lord only knows. But it's been a fun ride so far. And I did appreciate being featured that one time. That was nice. I wish it did not happen while we were gone on our 2-week excursion.
And couldn't do anything about it.
I couldn't do anything about it. I couldn't really talk about it because every day the con was going, like the con in Salt Lake was hours and hours and hours long every day. Like I think it closed at 8 or 9 o'clock every day. And it was just, there was no time to do anything. And we were already in mountain time. And it was just, Apparently evil is indeed a ghost. So you had it right.
Comf, do you have the phone by you?
Do I have the phone? I do.
For some reason, weirdly, it was easier to find this reference searching on the phone than searching on the desktop.
I'm going to try and get you this. Oh, there you go. Get back to the thing. Yeah, you can't edit it at all, Gazer. And I actually just wanted to see which ones that I had up, like prepped to go, because that's what I do. Is I put in a set, like I'd like to go 4 ahead, so that when the next one's ready to go up, I can just say okay, and click the button, and it goes up. That's how we were able to update on the trip. Is that I had them sort of stowed away like a little chipmunk. But I wanted to see which ones I had up, and I couldn't edit anything. I couldn't get it into the edit page at all. So everything is totally 100% locked down. You can put in a new, a new chapter, new episode can go up, however you want to call it. So you can do that, but you can't store them up and then just click the button to go up. You have to do the whole shebang every time you update. So it'll be a little annoying for however long that judging process is.
Hey, Comf, do you remember when that convention is in Milwaukee?
I think it's in February. I believe February is where it is. When it's at. I can look up, I want to say it is Anime Milwaukee. I think if you look up Anime Milwaukee, you will find said show. But it's nice people, and some of the people that run YumaCon do Anime Milwaukee. And that's where they found us. They really like us as people. It's true. At cons especially, we're fabulous. Like, as far as winning a game for any of these things and how to run them, like us at cons, we are amazing. Us in our social media game, not as amazing. We have not put as many points into that. But if you want us at a con, we're spectacular. Now we just have to get the social media side of everything going, right, Mr. Withers?
Yeah, we invested pretty heavily in figuring out cons.
That's because cons made money.
Yeah. Cons are also a lot easier to figure out, I think.
But now that
They're not-
everybody is asking for the numbers game.
The internet is a constantly changing algorithm.
Yeah.
And every time you think you've figured out what works, they change what works. It's the reason they pay people really good money to be social media like experts.
David says, were we souring on anime cons?
Yeah.
Sure. Like, but
In a
also
broad
know that
sense.
there are some anime cons that were really frustrating that we thought we had a very good relationship with, and there are still several that we do. But anime cons, the difficulty with an anime con is that the people who run it are often changing constantly. So you make a relationship with one set of people, and then the next set come in and they're like, why are these assholes here? And then you have to explain everything over again of why we're here, what we do, you know, this is what we bring to the show, blah, blah, blah. And
There's a number of anime shows with which we were starting to feel like no matter how long we're doing this show, no matter how much time we invest, we are never going to go any farther. Like, we have hit the wall for how much we're going to be able to do with the show. They're not going to see us as being any, you know, more valuable to them, and we're not going to perform any better. It's just like we've peaked.
yeah. And some of them too were like changing venues, and we knew the time to leave was now. So as much as I want to be a part of all those other shows, it's just not financially or businessly.
We also find that it is not. We also find that a lot of anime shows are starting to suffer from what comic conventions had been suffering from about a decade ago, which is they don't want to change. They don't want to evolve. They don't want to grow in ways that their audience is demanding. And because they're not making those changes.
Yeah, they're having a hard time.
Yeah.
One of the things that happens with anime is that American animation and just new media and everything kind of ate anime's lunch. And most anime shows are based solely around Japanese culture, period, end of story.
To the extent that they are not interested in doing anything else. Like, even things, they're not looking at other things that have been influenced by anime. They're not looking at, you know, the broader cultural impact that Japanese comics and animation have had.
We've been to shows where they actively have kicked out people from the show, like the Pushin Cat girl was a big goer to
Yeah.
many anime shows. And she starts getting success with Pushin Cat, and they're like, all right, get out. We don't want you anymore. You don't belong here. Okay. I mean, if that's how you want to play it, that seems like that's a good revenue for you, and that's a lot of popularity. But whatever. You had other friends who had their comics out that they worked for stuff with like IDW and Boom and stuff like that, and they got told that they could no longer have their stuff out on the table.
Yeah. They're like, this is too much. You're only allowed to have so much fan art on the table. They're like, it's not fan art. We did the book. Like, we were hired by the company to do the art. They're like, doesn't matter. It's fan art. It's not fan art. We are professionals who are hired to draw it. Nope, don't care. Do you have a certificate showing that they gave you the license to? Like, no, but our name is on the book. Does that? Nope, don't care. So there are a number of the anime shows that we've been getting a little tired with. But, you know, we found anime conventions in the first place because we had been getting frustrated with American shows that were not taking advantage of the new fandom and the changing culture. And we found that anime cons really were. But over time, American shows have become much more responsive to that changing culture. And anime shows have become the ones who don't want to pay attention and don't want to grow and don't want to, you know, watch where the wind is blowing and actually go where the fans are.
Even just locally, our Grand Rapids Comic Con has like Steve Bloom and stuff at their show.
Oh, sure.
And tons of amazing anime voice actors, and I have a hard time.
I need to refill this marker.
Seeing how our local anime show is going to compete with that. I love our local anime show, but it is going to be hard for them.
Let me fish out
Let's see here. So, look back at the screen. And John's longest con he's done is Gen Con, which is 4 days. And that's
Dragon Con is 4 days. You'd be amazed how hard that fourth day can feel.
Every read show is 4 days.
Anybody who hasn't done a 4-day show, whew. See,
you're like, oh my God.
We just did Dragon Con and Salt Lake Fan Expo, or FanX Salt Lake, if you prefer, back to back. And it was weird. It was an unusual situation because usually a show goes Friday to Sunday. And so if you're doing them back to back, you got Friday to Sunday, then you can rest for a few days, and then, you know, set up the next Thursday and Friday to Sunday again. But Dragon Con is Friday to Monday because of Labor Day weekend. And then Salt Lake FanX was Thursday to Saturday because it's Utah and the entire state shuts down on Sunday. Nothing is open or running on Sunday.
I had fun though in Utah because I've never been asked so often whether my books were clean or not.
Is it clean? Yeah.
It's super cute though. Like
exceedingly really cute people.
They wanted to ask me that question, but I could tell they were nervous to ask.
Yeah, they didn't want to be offensive.
Yeah, they didn't want to be offensive. Because they're very nice.
But they also didn't want to be offended.
Right. And so I had to go through several times the book, like explaining what goes on and, you know, how we deal with things and blah, 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 and giving a lot of previews. And basically every time they bought the book, we almost sold out of books again just at that show. And we
brought, between the two shows from Dragon Con to Salt Lake, we brought over 12 cases of books. And by the time we came home, we had barely, like a case and a few books left. Just a little over one case. Yeah.
So I was pretty pleased with
it. It was an extremely successful,
extremely book
yeah.
shows, but yeah, it was quite fun. They were super cute. I thought Salt Lake was an adorable little town. Let's see here. And Gazers, I'm guessing, reacting to anime shows and sometimes doing things that
Yeah,
oh,
it's nuts.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating.
We've had anime shows be like, we'd love to have you as a guest. You just have to move to Japan first. And I'm like,
Like, if you guys lived in Japan, we would totally.
Yeah, you guys would be great guests.
Your work is definitely worth it.
Your work and you're such good speakers, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you know, we can do all these things now. We don't need to be from Japan. Whatever. I love you guys. Holy shit. You're holding yourselves back. These are terrible rules that will ruin you. Let's see here. So, did we get a chance to look at Gazer's comic, Mr. Withers?
I was looking at it after the stream on Wednesday. And I enjoyed watching you getting better, for one thing. Like, it's still...
I saw a glimpse of it over your shoulder, and you know what it reminded me of?
What?
Young Us's.
It kind of did, yeah. Kind of did remind me of us when we were younger. For sure. I definitely saw that. No, like issue to issue, I can definitely see, too, how there's a bit of a struggle trying to get things done at the pace that they want you to work.
I mean, I think we made it clear that, like, the Webtoons contest is weighted.
It's
definitely, they have a finger, they put it on the
stage. Methodology is a little flawed as well.
Right, you know, but it's fine, it's their thing. What are you gonna do? It's not like it's some egalitarian whatever. It's just, you know, it's their way to get some press. And for them, the money that they're giving to regular people seems large, but for them, it's some drops in the bucket because, once again, they are owned by Creative Google.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much money, if any money, Webtoons is making as a company right now. My guess would be
I would be shocked if they made any money.
Any money yet? They're trying out Google Ads, which I've said before would not be the way that I would think to do advertising. I think they have a real opportunity for some other amazing stuff, but I don't know if they'll do that. I will guess no, they won't. But I think what you've got right now, Gazer, is some really fantastic stuff where you're going to grow and become just an amazing creator sticking with this. Like, if you saw our stuff before, say, even the first run of Uniques, like first run of Uniques, Adam and I were a little bit older. I think we were, 26 doing it?
Yeah.
Something in that range. We'd already been doing, professional work for a few years at that point. We'd been doing stuff all the way through college. So we had a few years underneath our belt at that point. So give yourself, I would do this for a year, Gazer. 1 year. And then see where you're at in 1 year. Because I think you're going to be shocked at how awesome you are. I know I was very impressed with how much our work just even on that first run of Uniques improved. If you look at it from issue 1 to issue 9. And that is a shockingly amazing improvement. And just look at us now from that first run to the new director's cut, which is also an amazing improvement. We've learned so many things. And it is just time. There's no, I hate other artists being like, well, it's magic and I'm magic. I'm like, you're full of shit, or you don't understand. You don't know what you do. And I feel like that magic side makes it discouraging for other people. And I don't like that when writers do it or whatever, which is why Adam and I work hard to demystify this stuff. I hate the thing of like there's a whole Hollywood thing like you get it or you don't, kid.
Yeah.
I'm like, not really.
That's really not how it works.
But it's hard to explain it. So what we say is you got it or you don't. We had some students who came with us to Dragon Con, and they used our free tickets that we get to Dragon Con as guests. And really good, super talented, and they showed their portfolios around. There's a lot of people who are just like, well, I'm just not going to look at stuff because you got it or you don't. And I was like, fuck you, buddy. I mean, that's your prerogative, but that's an asshole way to put things.
Just say, I don't want to look at stuff.
Where I don't have time.
Whatever. But the whole concept that you've either got it or you don't, kid. Like, why are you? It's just a dick thing to say. Yeah, fuck you, buddy. Just say, I don't want to look at stuff. Don't give people the impression that you're either magically awesome or not, and that's all there is to it. There is no magic to being good. There's no magic to being ready. That mystical it factor people talk about, all that means is you happen to have a style that was popular at the right moment. There's nothing particular, no mystical, ethereal, unknowable thing.
And just even having a right style at the moment, it was just like something that caught on.
Yeah.
And it's something that people were like, hey, this is cool now. And
right.
One tastemaker said this, and people jumped on. And
the right person said this is the thing to do, and so everybody agreed to do it. And that's all there is to it.
So, that sucks. But those are the things that sort of come down to, what's going on.
What sucks about it most to me is that it gives young, aspiring creators the impression that there's no value to the hard work.
Yes. I
either have it or I don't. And there's no direction there. There's no call to action. There's no... keep working harder at this thing and that thing. Here are your weaknesses. Here are your strengths. Here's what you need to do. There's none of that. It's just, you got it or you don't, kid. Which is just code for, I don't want to have to talk about this.
And again, if you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. But, sorry. Let's see here.
How many drafts do we make of a script before we start a final? Shadow's asking.
We do somewhere in between, if we're lucky, 5.
If we're not lucky, 9.
9, 10.
We have done way worse, but not typically.
On average. I think we're
usually it's 5 to 9 drafts.
Yep. And it depends on how complicated some of the things were. If we were just writing the characters, hanging out and having fun all the time, that would be one thing, and I think we could write that masterfully.
Easily.
But especially, with all of our stuff, we try and put complicated ideas into things, and that makes a difficult soup to write. So it takes a lot of drafts, like the amount of complicated things that were, and like not complicated for the sake of complicated, but just like there's some definite third rails that are in Unique Season 2 that are currently being written. Stuff that we're going to have to get help from other like writers or editors who have other experiences that are not ours.
To make sure that what we're writing feels authentic.
But boy, it's hard, it's delicate. It takes time to make it right. So, there's unfortunately no, like, this is the perfect amount, always do this. It's more like, you got to do it until you think you've got it, but then you've also got to be honest with yourself or be willing to move forward at a certain point.
What does it mean to got it?
Right. You can't spend the next 18 years on one script. You know what I mean?
Yeah. At a certain point, you've just got to let it go and trust that you're close enough, or as close as you're ever going to get.
Yep. I want to point out or say something that John is saying, which is you don't have to be from Japan just to make anime and manga, which, preach it, brother, it's so true. You know, you would think that the American cartoon industry would hire artists who are proficient in an anime style to make it up, but yes, they do.
They do. They absolutely do.
Thing that bothers me.
There's all kinds of, if you look at almost any American animation projects now, virtually all of them have extremely strong and obvious Eastern influences.
They wouldn't have people from like Steven Universe or Avatar Last Airbender or whatever, and this is not all shows, but these are some particular anime shows that were very stuck in their ways. And that was the frustrating part is, you know, you've got something so good and they had something just beautiful. It was magic on their hands, and they really just it was like watching a train wreck. And you knew that.
And they're not done yet, but it feels like the way they're going, they're going to be done.
Yeah.
Or at least it's not the kind of thing we want to be a part of or around for. We don't need it.
Amazing is now over. But the thing that I think got me the most is how they basically told all new creators to go away. We don't want anybody who's an American doing anything here. There's nowhere for them to go. We actively hate you.
I don't know about we actively hate you.
We don't actively hate you, but we
That's taking it a little straight. What they're saying is, if you are somebody who is making books, producing real work, doing something significant, we will treat you precisely the same as all of those print factories who are just sending representatives to shows and don't even have the real artist
and then
there.
They would say, why? Why is this happening? And we'd say, because this is what you're emphasizing.
Because that's what you're emphasizing, but because you treat it the same. You provide absolutely zero incentive for people to do anything else. And so the lowest common denominator is naturally going to take over. The path of least resistance is going to win unless you provide an incentive to do otherwise. And they weren't doing that. So you're seeing print machines owning the cons.
Let's see here.
Let's see. Shadow says, when you write, do you write it by chapter, or do you script out the whole story at once? We write it issue by issue, but we'll frequently work multiple issues together ahead of time before we start drawing anything.
All right. Also, the stuff that anybody who is coming in and being familiar with our stuff on Webtoons, the chapters are sort of an artificial thing that we make.
Yeah.
Each chapter, like I think there's about 4 chapters per issue of Uniques, and there is 3 to 4 chapters for Rainbow. I try and denote when a chapter, or when an issue is done. I say end part 1 or end part 2 when I get to the end of an issue. I don't say issue because I don't think that terminology resonates.
Don't think people know what the hell you're talking about?
Yeah, because they'll never have read an issue. The age group is very young in general. Very young, very female. They do not have a lot of connections. Some of them do, but most of them, I can tell, have no connection to any kind of...
They already have a hard time knowing what they're looking at if it's not boy love.
Yes.
Why aren't these boys making out with each other yet? I don't get it. Shadow says they're trying to write for their sci-fi graphic novel and aren't sure how to go about writing it. Well, take it a chapter at a time. That's the best thing I can say. Like, plan the whole graphic novel. If it's like an OGN thing and it's designed to just be a singular book when it's done, plan the whole thing out. Know what your whole start, middle, end, get the whole thing just broadly understood, point to point to point. And then, and then hone in closer and really work out the specifics of Act 1. You know, the first act needs to feel like X and it needs to accomplish Y. By the time we get to the end of the third act, here's where all the characters will be. Here's what's going on in the plot. And once you've got that figured out, then you go chapter 1. Give yourself, break down how many chapters are going to be in the first act. And what's going to happen, you know what your first act needs to do, so what is each chapter going to accomplish towards that goal? And then you go to chapter 1 and start writing your details. So it's a slow breakdown process where you're starting with the broadest possible concept of what your story is and slowly honing in a little more and a little more on the specific details of a given chapter.
So to hold in our back pocket here, Adam, I'd like to bring to everybody in a minute what they would like to see us do on YouTube as a video first. Like what subject they'd like us to tackle, because we're sort of starting to get prepared for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But first, Gazer is saying she does not get the boy love thing.
Well, it's a whole thing.
It is a whole thing, but I would say it has just as much to do with porn.
That's all it is. I mean, of course, it is pretty much
porn.
Strictly, it's just porn. That's all. And they'll give a lot of very high-minded, fanciful explanations for why it's...
Look, we're showing diversity.
Yeah, no, you're not.
Blah, blah, blah.
These are not gay men. These are fantasy creatures. You're not really representing a gay experience. And also, most of the time, they're written explicitly as hetero boys who don't understand these feelings. It's girl porn. It's the same way that, remember when girls would get so frustrated, like, why is there always a lingerie pillow fight? That's not how girls act. This doesn't make any sense, and it's kind of super insulting to us that you think that this is how we are. That's what boy love is. It's the girl version of that. And there's really nothing more to it than that. It's just girls like the titillation of it. Yeah.
If we're just honest about what it is, I would be fine.
Yeah, I don't necessarily care because, everybody's going to wank. Such is life. But to each their own. Yeah, no problem. Whatever. But don't act like it's something more than it is. Don't act like when you do it, it's art.
I would say
and when boys do it, it's gross.
If boys do the equivalent to you, you can't be bitchy about it anymore. You have to stop your bitchiness. You're done. You're over. You leave that alone because you're doing the same thing over there and you must recognize that.
Yeah. Hey, Isaac is joining us. Hello, Isaac.
Fantastic.
Says the best way to begin writing his stories is to start with a super simple timeline of events, then turn that into a synopsis, and start working into the gaps, then scripts. Yeah, pretty much. Like, that's more or less what I'm describing as our general methodology.
Which means, Isaac, you really know.
Pretty much right on.
Good job, man.
Works for us.
It sounds like it works for Isaac as well. We are going to review Isaac's work because he is a patron member.
Yep, he jumped in at the mentorship level, so we're going to be giving him some full reviews, reading over all of his jazz, or, what we can of it.
All right. So, Mr. Withers, I wanted to bring up this is a question for everybody here. Guys, what do you want us to tackle first in doing YouTube videos. Like we can do how-tos on things. We can talk about particular subjects. Like, what would you like to see us do first? Where would you like to see us go? We're really going to start like biting into this. So would you like to see us do things like scripts? Would you like to see us talk about, you know, particular media things? Would you like to see us, you know, do
How-to kind of stuff? Is that, yeah.
What do you guys want to see?
What would be the most interesting thing for us to start doing videos about first? My inclination is how-tos.
That would be my inclination too, but that's why I'm putting it to people. What are you looking for? What would you like to see? This one song has a lot of like bouncies to it that I don't.
This feels like the audio equivalent of a strobe light.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not sure if I'm super happy. Jason is asking, why am I always saying, I'm sorry, John. So John is saying he would like to see something of how we do the outlines before writing a script. So I would say writing process.
Yeah.
Is what I.
That's a pretty easy one.
Yeah, it's a pretty easy one, but it's a good one and it's an important one. I think a lot of our channel will be about demystifying things, as is our way, again, trying to sort of lay it out and make it understandable. So I agree, like scripts and laying that stuff out beforehand. How do we go through that process? Our next big purchase, now that we're back from all our cons and stuff, is going to be buying a nice camera. So even our streams will start looking nicer because we'll have a nice camera.
Adam rants. Oh, okay. I don't know if we're going to come out with Adam rants right out the gate. I don't know if that's the best welcome to Comfort and Adam channel plan.
We can do a very quick one. Like once we have like a setup ready, we can do like an Adam rants. In my mind, shouldn't be any more than a minute and a half. What do you think, Mr. Williams?
I don't know. It depends on the topic.
Like how much you feel like you've gotten.
How much I've got to say, yeah.
See, that stuff I think will all be patron things as well. Like there's a lot of YouTube people that we really like, and they do videos, and they give like, here's a few topics. You pick one. So they're all things that say Adam could have a rant about. But you guys get to pick the topic of what particularly Adam is going to rant about. Because I'm sure Adam has rants on all sorts of things.
Oh, he sure does.
Let's see here. So Iceman is asking, when you get the very first inklings of an idea, do you guys usually develop your story, world, or characters first?
I'd say characters and world are developing. It all develops
It feels very like
simultaneously, but I definitely would say that characters lead the way.
oftentimes we come up with a character or we come up like with a wacky idea.
Yeah. Characters definitely lead the way. Even if there is a wacky idea, the wacky idea happens first, and then it's like, okay, who's our cast?
I feel like the wacky idea is something usually where we're like, nobody does, blah, 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 blah. Or we are frustrated or annoyed with this, that, or the other.
Yeah.
And then we're like, we should. Like, we've got two separate horror stories. One that's a zombie horror story that we believe takes a really nice, different approach to things. And the big reason the zombie story is there is because we really wanted to do something where at the end of the tale, it's not a female character freaking out and getting scared. The audience gets scared. It's how do you do that with a male character, not have the audience be like, "Oh, he's so lame, man." And that's going to take a lot of really, really good characterization. But I think that was born from a frustration that we only see ladies freaking out at the end. You know, and if a man gets scared, they are somehow lesser. And I think those are terrible lessons and terrible things to have.
When a man in a horror movie is blithering and crying and terrified, there is some sense that he deserves to die.
Because that's not what men do.
That's not how men behave. Just like the girl who has sex is the one who dies because that's abhorrent behavior. You are breaking from societal expectations of what a good woman is supposed to be. Therefore, you're punished. Horror movies have a lot to do with punishing people for societal transgressions.
I think the Cabin in the Woods story put it all very succinctly. David is still inking, though. You're inking the right project, right, David? The thing that has to get done. Am I correct? So yeah, all our characters and stuff come. I think the characters in the world and the story sort of come together as a soup. It's not here's this, here's this, here's this. But it always comes from a spark, and it's usually something that is lacking in media.
In some ways, I don't think that's automatically the
No,
case.
not automatically. Not
Magical Moms didn't come from that.
No, Magical Moms came from, I think, a point where we were seeing, it was still a reaction to what was happening.
No, it wasn't.
No.
Magical Moms came from me doing a critique and
Oh,
seeing
that's
somebody's
what it was.
piece.
We thought it was good for the reasons of art.
Like we adapted things to it once we wanted to make a story out of it.
Yeah.
I was doing a critique in my class and somebody had a magical girl character, but the way that they drew her made her look like she was in her late 30s. I was like, it looks like a mom put on her daughter's magical girl outfit. And then my head was like, aha, but what if a bunch of moms did become magical girls? That would be hilarious and awesome. And then we were off to the races talking about what it would be. How do you make that story work?
Magical Moms right now, I think, is our most saleable other story.
Yeah, it'll be what we do next if we get to do another thing.
We have a lot of what I think are great stories, but Magic Moms is perfect for right now because of the age of so many people that grew up with Sailor Moon and stuff have their own children and such at this point, and so there's a multi-generational aspect to it that I think could really work. Going back to the stream here, so that was Iceman's question, and Sam is saying character design videos could be fun and could be great for ongoing subscribers. So our like sub-series. Sorry. Yes, one of the things that we thought if things get to start really working out was because Adam especially likes to make himself little drawing projects.
I sure do.
And the little drawing projects are character just based things where he's redesigning stuff. Like, so Mega Man, and in our minds we have a whole thing for Captain Planet because Comfort and Adam love Captain Planet a lot. We would do like a little series that would happen once Blue Moon. That would be how we do it. And it would take a property and we do the redesigns and a rework of the story, and we'd say how we'd make that story. So that is an idea for things. One of the things that I would kind of like to do is rework in my hero costumes.
Ugh. For a show that I like so much, boy, is the design bad. Or at least it's not my cup of tea.
It's not my cup of tea, and I feel like oftentimes I was like, these are generally not very usable, but okay, fine, I guess.
I'm not always sure what he's going for, but the design work is just not great. It is not what I would consider great character design for a number of reasons. But you know, there's always, you never know what kind of social factors are playing in that I'm not aware of. Like to me, this costume might not give any concept of what this character does or what their role is or who they are, but to the Japanese cultural mind, like it absolutely makes sense in a different way. So I don't know.
Awesome to them. But it's still something we would do, but just be like, hey, I don't know the rest of this. And if this has some great significance, sorry, but nonetheless, here's how we do this. So that would be putting some of Adam's late night, like relaxy time things to actual work. We've already
Yay, taking my relaxation time and turning it into a fucking job.
That's the one.
Hooray. Shadow was suggesting how-tos about doing character expressions and emotions. Says, I can do expression in a cartoon style, no problem, but I struggle with emotions in an anime-inspired or more comic book type style, which is what he's going for. That's definitely something that is one of our things that we do. You know, of the things we're known for, that's definitely one of them. It's probably one of the things we're known for that I'm the most proud of, is to be known as somebody who makes expressive, interesting characters. It's one of the things that I value the most as an artist.
And I think, too, we do it in a way that I think our characters are expressive even in a style that's not ultra cartoony. Because I think the more realistic it is, the harder.
The less you can get away with.
Yeah, the less you can get away with. Like, there are some people, too, who I think are more expressive than they're allowed to be. Like Adam Hughes, when you see his sketches, are a lot more expressive
than some of the finals he hands in. Yeah, right.
David says he's still not inking. David, you're terrible. You're terrible. Let's see here. La 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 la. David says, perhaps you guys need to do your own Plot Masters project type show, but instead you were just, documenting our pitches and any other project ideas. I mean, there is a possibility for what it would be. Do you feel like we give away too much of what we intend to do, Mr. Withers?
Well, we might not do it for things that we would actually intend to do, but sort of one-offs, like, here, if we were to do this property, what would we do? Kind of thing.
Oh, I think David is suggesting for the other ideas for content.
Oh, no, I wouldn't do that, because we actually want to make those. Unless it's a project that we know isn't happening,
yes.
I wouldn't want to, waste it by throwing it out as though it's not going to happen.
My hope would be in the next couple of years, we're actually in a place where honestly, if we have, I think our brothers, we will be pseudo kind of running a smallish studio that has 1 or 2 series running at any given time. And we're doing some of the art underneath, but not all of the art. So we're still always doing some drawing, but our lives are not consumed by it.
Yeah. At a certain point, you want to be able to slow down and enjoy your days and not always be moving at this breakneck pace.
I think the other thing is, as our bodies start to break down, we have to be careful.
Yeah, we can only do so much.
Right. We're at 37 right now, and it doesn't get easier from here. We can keep taking care of ourselves with some of the hours and stuff like that we do or have done. Like at a certain point, we have to know when enough is enough. And so that's where other people working on things sort of comes into play. So if we can be so lucky, that's where we would like to be.
David is saying, as regards our pitch projects, that we shouldn't worry about giving too much away, because by that logic, they could never do anything with Cat's Trio or the Dragons.
That's true.
I guess it's a question of how much you talk about, how much of the story you talk about, because in Plot Masters, you guys don't tend to get into a lot of specific plot details so much. It's just sort of an overview. Here's the broad concept. Here's the characters. Here's something about the world. And some of the general things that we would want to be touching on and doing.
think we could do something like that.
So it's not so much giving things away in terms of like the twists and turns of the plot or the big reveals, as it is just a general discussion of here's a story idea we had, here's the basic concept, here's the fun characters.
I mean, I think we could do something like that. Like that actually sounds doable. So it's not getting into the nitty gritty.
Not so much, but you know, people aren't excited about the nitty gritty. They're excited about the characters and the world and the general overview stuff.
It would give us an excuse to actually flesh some of these things out. So if we had like somebody who was going to take this over, we'd be like, here's all these structures for it already.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. Let's see here.
I am sorry you guys aren't getting to see this Mad Max because I'm having an absolute blast with it.
I see it out of the corner of my eye over there, and it is gorgeous. But that's why we kept the candy on the Twitch, or not on the Twitch stream, but on the patron stream. Because that's what we want people to sign up for. The land of patron, don't we?
It's special.
It is special.
Our patrons get special treatment.
Let's see here. So going back to the stream, apparently Gazer's got a weird selections of stories over her life that just somehow magically kept working together. So that is fantastic. It's sad to redo a few, but you know what? That's just how that goes.
Don't we all?
Yep.
So say we all. We started the new intern group on Battlestar Galactica today, and that's, oh, I'm so happy to be watching that show again. God, did I ever loved that show. Just watching the opening miniseries that they did is already reminding me so much of all the things I loved about Galactica. Such a good show. If people haven't ever watched the 2003 Battlestar Galactica, check it out.
And apparently Iceman's been working on his magnum opus since about 2007 when the concept started in middle school.
Whew.
Yeah, Uniques started, and I would say Unique started kind of for both of us because what was Adam's Masks became largely Unique.
Yeah.
So it's a combo project. So both of that was middle school for us as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, these things start early and eventually they come to the forefront.
You never know where they're going to lead you.
Right. Is the story closest to our heart that's taken the most twists and turns in the story and will be the most important one we tell if we get to actually finish it.
Yeah.
That's what I want. David says what he'd suggest is that we have this Magic Moms idea, do some logo design, some character pieces, costume options, and then record a video and overall pitch.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, that's not bad. It's not a bad idea. I can see where you're coming from, David. Yeah, I can't tell you how many times Unique's had some reworks.
Oh, God, yes.
There was a lot of things, and even now, like, there are certain things that we'll consider and be like, you know, this works better for this down the line.
Yeah.
This changes here. And, you know, stuff that you intended as you come up with better ideas, like, until it's down on the page, you know, you're not beholden to anything. And you would be surprised, too, at what you can sort of work with and change. Like, if you guys remember, you know, those of read Rainbow in the Dark, Rainbow's original ending was not the ending that we used, the one that we had concepted, the one that we planned for, all that kind of stuff. We had to throw it completely out the window at the 11th hour and rewrite the whole thing.
Because it just wasn't good enough.
Right. And we found some other pieces and stuff that we were doing that we didn't quite realize the significance of, and use that to our advantage to make what became the actual ending for Rainbow. And man, was it worth that rewrite.
The ending of Rainbow is still one of my proudest moments as a creator. Easily to this day.
Like, I know we will top that.
I know we will, sure, but I will never not look back on that with a sense of satisfaction and pride that we were able to accomplish what we did.
And good job at Iceman. He does fracking love battle. Well done. And David's also pointing out that there would also be a completed document, sort of thus protecting the copyright.
Well, that's true, sure. And we could show that we've had this idea for X amount of time. It's always a valuable thing.
And Arnell is here. Hello. Good to see you. Sorry, I did not say hello to you until just now.
How to on coloring techniques. Shadow is definitely something that we have planned on doing at some point. That is unquestionably up on the dock for the future.
Yeah, I think we could do a whole lot. We also, too, were watching the Fred Rogers movie.
Oh, God. Yes. Won't you be my neighbor?
For those who don't know his first name.
Won't you be my neighbor, which we highly recommend to anybody. If you want to get some serious full court inspiration into your life, watch that movie and be ready to cry. Happy tears, like good cry, not sad cry, but you're gonna cry.
But that was really inspiring.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a lot of people that enjoy meeting us in person at cons, and there's a lot of people who, you know, come, whether they've read our how-to book or they've just been inspired by panels or whatever, they come to show us their comics and stuff after attending the things that we do, reading some of the things that we do. And I feel like if we could take some of that inspiration that we get with people personally at cons and bring it to the internet, that could be something special. And that was what Fred Rogers was largely about, is being inspirational and
Making a connection with people.
Yeah. And that's one of the things we do, and by golly, why hold ourselves back? We have to do this thing anyways.
How did we glad you guys are having fun in the patron stream. We're here with you guys. It is a party for sure. A bit. There's a bit of silly happening.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough.
How did we figure out how much to charge for commissions? We slowly charged not enough for a number of years until we felt like we could charge enough.
And people got hooked on our commissions so much that when our prices would go up, they'd be like, well, all right.
It was a combination of how many people want commissions from us, how long do our commissions take us to do, and what is the realistic quality of the commissions we're doing.
It was a big learning process for us, too. We were not always, strangely enough, as good at commissions as we are now.
That's very true.
What?
Oh, God, I'm on to Furiosa. Oh, boy. Here we go.
Wait, howdy. How much is that? Do you have ink? Can I see it? Oh, it's very nice. Yeah. Are you proud of yourself?
I'm feeling pretty good. I'm probably going to have to go even darker and deeper in the shadows at a point to make sure that Splendid comes out enough, stands out enough.
Splendid is the young lady
Yes.
who's pregnant. Yes.
Sure is.
All right. Let's see here. So David's saying, I know you guys have a handful of real projects that you plan to get to eventually, but by recording a pitch, you'd have a time capsule for those ideas, nail down some of the designs, potentially get patient creators to your studio excited and ready. Yes. You're selling me on this, David. You're selling me on this, David. Even if we were working with some of our other people we plan on working with, that's not bad.
We do have an artist in mind for Magical Moms already.
We do.
Somebody we've worked with a tiny bit in the past, but she has really blossomed tremendously. We've been extremely impressed with all the things she's gotten to do. And if she had time in her schedule, we would really like to do this. Just refilling a marker over here.
You and Gaze are talking about reworking all the story things. Yeah, reworking stories is worth it, everybody. There's nothing to hold you back on making what you're doing better.
Shadow's asking, have we ever had to deal with people who request a picture, then get mad when we ask for payment for our services?
We always get the payment up front.
No, like, oh, would you draw me this thing? Sure, it costs X. What? It costs money?
Well,
not for a long time. There have been times.
There's a lot of people who still ask for requests at this point where I'm like, no, we don't do requests.
Would you just draw a thing?
Which is another reason that Patreon was a thing. So many people will be like, will you do requests? And I'm like, no. But now I can say, you know what, we actually do this Patreon thing, and you can be a part of it if you like. So at least there's somewhere I can point people. Something that's a little bit more affordable than a full sketch, because a full sketch can feel pricey, but being a part of Patreon is not so bad. Especially if we reach it to the other color marker, like quick sketch at the $10 range. Like that's a lot more affordable for your average person. All right, so I'm going to read something over here, Mr. Williams.
Oh, okay.
Let's see here. So Iceman is talking about his thing is the biggest change came after he saw Doctor Strange for the first time. And it made him rethink his entire premise, even though it was 100 pages into the prose novel. Yeah, well,
sometimes that happens. It's one of the things that we'll frequently jokingly say is we love our stories, but we hate ourselves. And what we're really saying is, for the most part, there's no amount of personal suffering we are not willing to endure if it means doing the better story. So yeah, 100 pages down and we're going to have to mostly scrap it. Well, shit, that's how it goes sometimes. We just came up with a better story.
We had to rework the whole first issue, or what is going to be issue 11 of season 2 of Uniques.
Yeah.
Now we did take parts from other issues that were written, but it still was an incredible change.
This is after we had done like 6 drafts of it. We still okay, I guess we're scrapping and restructuring the entire goddamn volume.
I'm much happier with what we have.
Yes.
And it looks like all the editors are on board and everything like that. Like everybody is.
Now I did say almost no amount of personal suffering. There are times where you just got to be like, I'm too deep. I'm too far down the line. Too much has been done. You've got to weigh the difference between how much of an improvement would this be compared with how much would it take to implement. And sometimes you've just done so much and come so far that you've got to let it go. Sorry, would that have been cool? Yeah, it would have been awesome, but it's too late. too late, and the book's just got to get done.
You do have to weigh how awesome that actually is.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to aim for being in the situation Adam and I were doing Unique's director's cut.
No.
Nasty
I
situation.
every time we talk about it publicly, I say,
Don't do this.
don't do it. Do not. If anybody had come up to us and said they were thinking of doing the same thing, we'd have said, no, it's a bad idea. We had very, very specific circumstances that made that choice make sense for us. But most people are not going to have those circumstances. And some of those circumstances are even like heavily story based to the point where we can't even really explain them to you because it's part of the story way down the line of Uniques. And if we told you, we'd be giving away a bunch of stuff.
And,
Like the opening had to be just so.
and John is saying how he had to discount this whole BioNexus because there was too many plot threads that barely connected with each other. It was throwing in a lot of stuff without polishing up the story. And yeah, I mean, it's all of this obviously, guys, is such a live and learn and get better. Let's see here. It sounds like Great Evil is trying to control us and save the stream.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work. I know. I've tried.
What are we talking about here with Jesse, Glenn, and David?
Magical Moms.
Oh. I mean, that would be kind of funny. Although I can see drawing Jesse in for one of the
dads.
Yeah.
We haven't even really talked about the dads.
No, I think.
I don't want this to be a
very much-
Disney thing where the dads are all dead or something.
No,
Although I think
I
one
think
of them
they're
is definitely
there.
a single mom. Maybe even the lead is a single mom, possibly. But
Yeah.
I don't want this to be a thing where the dads are just complete non-issues. They exist in some capacity.
I think the dads are there, but this is, a power that the moms have, and the dads are like in the background being like, support us.
It's about the mother-daughter connection,
Yeah.
very specifically. You can't just throw some dads into that without risking undercutting the whole point of the story.
Well, I mean, there's plenty of movies where like the role of the female character is to be on the phone and be worried.
Well, I mean, sure. That's probably a lot of the dads are going to be that.
That's fine.
Sure. I'm just saying, like, we don't want to give them parts that run the risk of taking too much of the spotlight off of the relationships that the story is really about.
Because it's a mother-daughter thing. That's the job. But I do think Jesse would be a great dad. Like I love Jesse's like his attitude, and I love the way he listens to things, and I love Jesse's smile and stuff. He just looks like a character.
He does look like a character,
Yeah.
for sure.
I'm like a solid 60 to 70% set that Jesse is one of the dads.
Yep.
Yep, I think Jesse is a perfect dad for Magical Moms.
I can imagine him on the phone, very worried.
Yeah.
My wife and daughter are missing. Something's happening. Why is nobody listening to me? The guys over on the Patreon stream are talking about how there have been way too many times that they have either been asked or agreed to do sketches for free. And so it's getting to the point where they're sometimes nervous to ask for money. And
Oh.
don't be. You're the professional here. You're not like...
Just to even make your prices because you guys are both starting out. Take them low. That's fine.
Sure, but
somebody
if-
can pay $5, we charged, I think and this was ridiculous, but we charged $20 for a whole 11 by 17 when we first started.
Yeah,
It was nuts.
It was
and
insane.
It was a bad decision, but it sure did hook people on our styles.
true.
And the more cons we went to, like we just came back from 2 cons and we made over 11,000 together. And so that's nothing to sneeze at. I'm sure other people make more, but that's good money for us. But we can do that because we've been able to raise prices slowly for everything. I mean, try and make it really worth it for people. Even the price of our prints still today at $15 each for the 11 by 17s is the price of most people's small prints. Shit, most people's small prints are $20 or $25. But we sell in bulk. We sell a lot.
I mean, we're perfectly happy with the percentage we're making on our print sales.
We did raise our prices this year, finally.
David says one of the dads needs to be completely oblivious, doesn't know his wife is magic. 40s era pipe and slippers dad with the newspaper up, not noticing the commotion. That's nice, dear. Don't forget, we've got theater tickets on Saturday.
That is perfect.
That is actually pretty good.
I feel like Jesse's the very attentive dad. Like he's the more supportive dad.
Yeah, he's the very involved dad.
Very involved. I think he's the husband of the lawyer character.
He's like a stay-at-home dad, is what you're saying?
He's the one, you know who he is. He's the one who would put, like, to help them find where to land. He'd put flares out on the lawn.
Oh, God.
Ah, God. So flight is a navigator. That's who he is. Because I like the family aspect of it, and I love supportive dads.
Yeah.
I think those things have to be more emphasized. Like we have our friend Randy. He is a stay-at-home dad, and when he asks his little boy, what do you want to be when you grow up? He says, I want to be a dad. And that speaks to how good Randy is as a dad.
Yeah, it's pretty great. It's pretty great.
His little boy Jonah can say, this is a viable thing for me to do.
Yeah.
This is a great thing for me to do. I can be a dad someday. I'm excited. All right, I gotta go back to the stream. Let's see here. Sounds like Iceman is still really working out his story. Well, Iceman, if ever you want sit-down time with us, we are always there for you. That's why we started the Patreon. That's for everybody too. If you ever want like a long drawn out conversation, all the long drawn out like story conversations that we used to have, we are moving to Patreon at this point. Correct, Mr.
Yeah.
Yep. So story reviews and stuff were spectacular and they were very fun, but it was still a lot of work. So
oh, David is having a good laugh.
Oh, David likes that?
He just
this is a fantasy story, David.
It's a fantasy, that's right.
Jeez. And we are doing well. We're having a lovely time doing drawings here. Adam is doing a drawing on his phone over on our Patreon.
As a simultaneous stream.
Yeah.
Simultaneous streaming, baby. You and me.
Make it back here. It has been a lovely stream thus far.
I'm talking about you and me. and our lovely little patrons. Simultaneous you.
I
And
love
him, instantaneous.
Apparently, Stargaze tried to watch 2 streams and doodle at the same time.
It's an effort. It does require some attention.
I'm saying again how serious I am about the Jesse thing.
I don't doubt you. I know better than to
Sorry,
doubt
I
you,
keep
honey.
thinking of it, and it's so cute in my head, even though it's a fictional character that looks like Jesse. Yes, David. But all those things,
And has Jesse's voice.
just the way it's a voice and how he carries himself, that's just how you can imagine Jesse. You guys don't know Jesse, many of you on the stream, but that is, you can watch Jesse Glenn's. Is he Jesse Glenn, David, or is he
I believe he is.
Glenn?
Oh, Jesse T. Glenn, I think.
David, you can correct us on this. But you can watch Jesse on a stream, and then you can see who we're talking about. And you guys watch it and say that we're not right. That Jesse would be a great dad character, and he just looks like a person that would be very attentive.
He's got that soft-spoken thing going on.
He does. He has something where, like, one of the moms would feel like they've got to go sing, and it's kind of a brash idea that shouldn't be done, and you can be like,
No, honey.
well, maybe we should,
J. Thomas Glenn on Twitch.
J. Thomas Glenn. All right. Close. Not totally correct, but close. But anyway, you can go watch Jesse's streams. They're great. He does lovely art.
He hasn't streamed for a while though. He had to take he's taken a temporary real job and has had to cut back on some of the streaming stuff.
Fair enough.
It's a thing that happens. Okay. Let's start schmutzing this girl up here.
Very nicely over there. I can't see it.
Who?
But I hear it.
Who are you talking about? Who? I said who? Oh, me? My stuff is going? I mean, yeah.
Like, because you're making little, like, happy sounds.
I am making happy sounds. I'm having a great time.
The structure out of hand here a little bit. By the way, for those who haven't seen what we're working on, this is a print that we're doing, which is a grid. So this is the grid of all the characters. These are their new season 2 outfits and such. And then some like regular clothes. And we had a fun time looking at all the 90s outfits and such. That they could wear. Quake in his new outfit. It feels cool, but it also feels appropriately 90s. Kid Quake in a new outfit. Scout, telepath. Very armory.
Well, considering how much damage they took in the last issue, I'm not surprised they wanted to go a little more heavily armored.
Make sure to have plenty of abs for the ladies.
Absolutely.
Yep. We talked about Unique a lot on what was it?
Wednesday.
And we did it because we had 2 guys who read the Unique and were just in love with it. And it's kind of fun for us because we get so many like emails from young ladies about things and feedback from young ladies that we sort of forget how guys react to things. And so it was like a fun experience. So we did a lot of like answering of their questions and stuff on the stream. But that being said, we know we have a lot of adorable young ladies who read the book and who happen to like abs and also like to ask us, will Quake and Singe kiss?
They haven't actively asked that as often as you make it sound.
No. It's not every
I think Comfort just assumes.
There are more people at cons.
I suspect that the baby brother thing is so strong that they're much more likely to wonder about Quake and Michael, or perhaps Quake and Scout, or Michael and Scout, or any combination of two of the boys. But I don't know.
Talk about the Quake and the Singe.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the easy one to be like, so if I were to get bored up in this book, I feel like it could be between these two characters. But anyway, point being, abs must be prominent. We know who at least a good chunk of our vocal audience is.
Well, I've always said, if you're going to have a girl who looks like Telepath in the book, you got to have a balance. If you're going to throw a bone to the boys, throw one to the ladies as well.
You tried very hard.
Equal opportunity hotness, that's what we're going for here.
Right.
Something for everybody.
We've heard enough at this point that Scout is the best boy. So much like I guess anime does best girls, Scout would count as best boy.
Well, they definitely have best boys in anime too.
That's true. Let's see here. Users having a hard time because you seem to have a lot of technical difficulties on your stuff. I'm so sorry. Well, I draw some of the guy butt shots, but Adam has gotten very good at drawing boy butt shots.
I draw a large amount of the guy butt shots.
Adam is equal opportunity butt shots.
I feel good about doing it. It makes me feel
like your butt shots got very good too in the new version of Uniques. Like before, butts would be a little bit square for the boys. Like
yeah. Well, my female anatomy wasn't that much better, honestly. No. I had a lot of problems.
Butts were hard to do.
Not just butts, like just generally, I had a lot of things that were problematic. And I had to get better, but I have definitely worked on my butts. Been doing a lot of the artistic equivalent of squats, I guess.
That's right. Behind, that's important. Abs. And even when we draw boobs, we really try and be thoughtful on how different boobs look. Do we not, Honey Bun?
Sure.
Like it's not
different ladies, different boobs.
Both Kid Quick, Motherboard, and Telepath all have different boobs.
Different bodies broadly. Yep. It makes it fun. She super much is, yes. Yep. Katie bought them buns.
Yep. Katie's a good like a B-ish.
I'd say she's in the B range.
Yeah. But she's got wide hips.
Sure enough.
Telepath is a real hourglass. Motherboard is a little bit more like a pear apple. So these characters, it's important that all of them look different. Like it's not as extreme as, say, what people would do for animation.
Yeah, well, we don't have a style that fits that.
No, our style is expressly sort of animated realism.
We try to stay more in the realistic realm, so that limits some of our options a bit.
I would list Alex Ross in the naturalistic bodies that he does as much of a reference and inspiration as some of the more cartoony people that we loved when we were growing up.
Sure. Yeah, Alex Ross was definitely an influence. The way that I draw clothing is very much influenced by Alex Ross. I saw Alex Ross stuff and I was never going to do that, but I remember looking at it and saying, I should pay more attention to the way that clothes work. I never thought about like seams on clothing. I looked at the way that he did Superman's suit and the way it like actually went over his muscles instead of looking like it was spray painted on top of them. I was like, yeah, that makes more sense and it looks super cool. I want my stuff to look more like that.
And reading stream stuff.
Azer says, need to work on butts. Realized I think I accidentally ran both of females with roughly the same chest size, and I usually try not to. Well, you know, you do your best.
You'll get there. It all takes time. And once you're there, it's amazing. Worth it.
Yeah. Shadow, I want to reinforce what Isaac is telling you, that if a business is wanting to do work with you and they want to work with you on like t-shirt designs or merchandise of any sort, you should not hesitate to ask for real money for that service. They're a business, they can afford it. If they can't afford it, they shouldn't be printing shirts. Ask the money. Don't feel weird about it. If you let yourself feel weird about it, they can pick up on that and feel like they can get one over on you and talk you down. They're looking for weakness, man.
What I would say too, though, when you are starting out, there are some times that you can do things that you are cutting your teeth on.
Sure, but he's already done something with them before.
Okay, he's already done something.
And they're talking about wanting to come back. Like they wanted to do something with him again.
And he did the first for free?
Or for very little.
So what I would say...
Like he did it for tickets, basically.
Oh, okay. I would say, you know, ask for some real money.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be...
Be like, look, I was happy to work with you the first time, but you know, a project like this, I'm gonna need to, you know, we should talk about what. Here's an easy way to ask is to say we need to talk about what your budget is for this project. That is you saying I expect to be paid without you having to say, hey, what are you gonna pay me? So if you're worried about dodging around looking like a D-bag for asking for money, that's a way to ask for money without saying the M word.
Especially if your stuff sold and what have you last time and they want to come back for more.
Yeah. They're coming back to you because they had a good experience. I promise you they're not just coming back to you because you're free.
You did a crap job and were free. That's not necessarily worth their time.
Right. They'd appreciate it. They'd appreciate that they didn't have to pay for it, but they wouldn't be talking to you about doing shirts unless they liked what you were doing.
Because they are going to have to put money into this.
Right, because they're going to have to invest in printing shirts. So yeah, if you go into a negotiation sounding nervous and hesitant and especially like apologetic, I'm sorry to ask for money, but then they feel like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be giving this person money. And then they're going to feel less confident about working with you. So whatever you do, you've got to come from a place of confidence. Never back it down. Don't explain yourself. Don't give them like, well, it's going to take X number of hours and I'm not sure. And since da da da, like, don't do that. Just be like, well, we need to talk about what your budget is for this project. And you want to try to get them to give a number first because you don't know. They want you to give a number because they want you to undercut what they're willing to pay. Like they might have 500 set aside and you say 200 and suddenly you're getting 300 less than they were ready to pay you. But
I mean,
you can't always get them to give the number first.
Yeah, I was gonna say they almost never do that.
They do want to
So
fight.
You give it for what you'd be willing to do it
Yeah.
for. Like, we had to do that for the Detroit Art Institute thing.
Yeah.
And when I did it, I gave a point by point, like, this is what we need, this is why.
Yeah, and it was more like an hourly, for this, that, and the other service that you're requesting, this is what our rate would be. So it wasn't like explaining why we're deserving of being paid. It was more like a verbal invoice.
Yeah. This is what we're gonna do. And they also knew why they were having us in the first place.
Done, exactly. Real businesses expect to pay something for your time.
All right, Mr. Withers, how are things coming?
Things are coming really good over here.
So you can see the time.
Can I? Oh, my. Yeah. Well, I will wrap up the marker. I might not get the white done, but I'm going to wrap up the marker because I'm down to the last bits.
All right. I'm sure everybody's getting sleepy themselves.
I'm sure.
So in our last few minutes, what do we want to talk about, Mr. Withers? Adam is thinking before finishing the drawing of the bed.
Seen any good movies lately?
We did not get to see any good movies because we got too tired every day. Like we were.
It's true. We were thinking about taking in a movie. Yeah.
Well, we were sitting here drawing, and
we were just so fucking tired. We didn't have any juice left.
Some of these sketches. Screw it. Like we just don't have the energy to do 5 a.m. anymore.
No.
Like I think that point in our life is done. And like even if I could, like I don't want to. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, I know what you mean. It's like we put in our time. We have put in our time. We have done those things. We don't need to do them again.
How about weather, huh? Mission Impossible Fallout was fun.
I've heard.
It yet, but I am curious to see the mustache that killed Superman. Superman is out.
I was so disappointed about that. Henry Cavill was one of the only things I liked about those movies.
I thought Henry Cavill was a good find.
He was a great find.
Love him.
Well, he didn't get anything to do.
I don't blame anything on Henry Cavill.
He wasn't. No, absolutely not. He wasn't as charismatic as Andrew Garfield was as Spider-Man. Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man is a fucking crime that he never got to be Spider-Man in a good movie. He was spectacular. Pun only moderately not intended. No, he was a spectacular Spider-Man. He was really good. And I liked his Peter Parker. I loved his chemistry with Emma Stone. And I am always going to be upset that we'll never get to see them in a movie that deserved them. And I feel the same way now about Henry Cavill. I don't feel like we'll ever get to see what Henry Cavill's Superman would have been.
And by the way, Jordan's here. Hello, Jordan.
Jordan.
Oh my God. And saying most of the casting in DC movies was pretty good.
It's just what they did with the cast. Yeah, exactly.
So we were talking about this earlier, and it was in reference to the new Predator movie that is coming out, and how like chopped up and messed with and what have you that movie became. And I feel like that and so many other things is really just a result of too many cooks.
Too many cooks.
We all maybe must be like watching the Adult Swim thing because that's what every one of these goddamn movies is ending up. Marvel gets to bypass that to some degree because it had everything so worked out beforehand. But I feel like all these other movie studios are racing to try and catch up and make their own cinematic universe and blah 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 blah. And
They're just overly cautious. They're overly nervous. When you have to spend as much as they have to spend, and you have such a limited window to make it back, because if they don't have a killer opening weekend, they basically wash their hands and walk away. When that's the situation you're living in, you're doomed. Of course they're going to feel like they have to take total control over everything all the time.
And I think the thing is that they're doing is they're almost guaranteeing themselves that shit opening weekend every time because they're taking no chances. And so they're just coming out with movies that are fine, that no one cares about.
Which, unfortunately, I think is something that they are fine with.
Yeah.
They don't care about producing movies that are going to last or be meaningful. They care about making that quick hit profit.
But I don't know.
So that they can show what profit they've made the studio so that they can then get promoted to a better position.
What I was going to say is that I think oftentimes they are... because of the mediocrity of the movies, they're not taking off in the way that they need them to. And so the money that they wanted to get back versus the money that they spent isn't good. Like it's the Ghostbusters situation and stuff. Yeah. If they get something that's overall, it's fine. It's not amazing. Yes, it was very controversial, but as a movie, you were like, whatever. But those kind of movies aren't going to get anybody excited because they're only okay to begin with. And I think the lesson should be is that okay, fine, is just not necessarily worth it for you because of the amount of money you have to spend.
Isaac is bringing up that Henry's going to be on the Witcher Netflix series. They're also pointing out over on the Patreon stream that it hasn't actually been officially confirmed by Warner's or by Henry Cavill, but come on. There's nothing on the schedule. Maybe it's not officially confirmed, but it's not out of the question either. So it's out there. It's a very strong possibility. And in fairness, I am much more excited about him as being in The Witcher than I would be about more of that shitty DCU Superman. But if they had announced a commitment, if there was going to be a creative team that I really did believe in, producing a Superman film with him in it, and DC seemed like they were dedicated to reconsidering the direction they had begun with, then I could get interested. I'm willing to give them another chance because I love Superman so much as a character.
I don't think they're going to.
But I don't think they're going to do that. They're talking about committing full tilt to Supergirl, which is a silly, weird thing to do.
And
I've just always kind of felt like Supergirl's a weird character. I like the character okay sometimes, and I do enjoy the show on CW, but she's a weird fucking character. She doesn't, I don't feel like she...
It's always like, it's a situation where you're kind of like, where's Superman?
Kind of, yeah. It's also a situation where her existence dilutes the core of what Superman is in such a specific way.
Yeah, I don't like any of the ancillary Superman things. Like, I like...
Every time they bring in a new Kryptonian, it's like, what the fuck?
Zod is fine. Leave it at that.
Zod is okay, but you do Zod once, and then he's gone.
Yeah. Let's see here. And Jordan is doing her own stream, so she's only popping in and out.
Well, that's cool. Good on you, Jordan.
Do we think the X-Men film franchise will be part of the MCU?
No chance in hell.
No.
No chance in hell.
They will have X-Men, absolutely. But they will not take the current X-Men. I do not think.
No.
They say adios to all of them.
Now, if the question is whether the X-Men movies that get made will be made as part of the MCU, that I don't know. I could actually see them doing them as separate movies, but I think that is unlikely.
I would say it's highly
It's a
unlikely.
possibility that they would keep them separate, just because it is an awful lot to try and shoehorn in and make work.
I think that if Dark Phoenix ever releases, which I would say is a question at this point,
We actually did see somebody made a very compelling argument that they might just never, flat out never release that movie. Which, I'd be surprised if they didn't, but in some ways I wouldn't be surprised.
And Don's saying all Kryptonians should be bad, and I like that. Like I like.
Well, but that's why you only do Zod.
Yeah.
You only do Zod, and maybe he's got a couple people with him, and it's these prisoners are the only ones who survived, and that's interesting. And the fucking bitter pill of it is real solid storytelling.
Yeah.
But every time you bring in another good Kryptonian that he can just hang out with,
he's not nearly as alone, and it dilutes the whole
it softens the blow. I think you can get away with Supergirl. I just feel like I don't feel like she's a character that has brought anything in particular new. And the ways that I could see to do new things with her would be, Superman came here as a baby and was raised human. For all intents and purposes, Superman is more human than alien. His biology is alien, but everything else about him is 100% Earth boy. He's the second generation immigrant child who, yes, I know that this is not my birth home. I know that this isn't where I came from. I have sadness at being the only of my kind here, and it is hard being kind of alone amongst these people, but these are my people. Full stop, no question. For whatever Krypton might mean to me on a personal level, it's not my home. This is my home. These are my people. Supergirl takes it a different way because she was a teenager when she left. So her people are Kryptonians. Krypton is her home. This will only ever be her second home. And that does change things for her. She has a different perspective. But for the most part, to play that perspective makes her... I don't know. When I've seen them dig into that perspective more, that difference more, have been the times that Supergirl has been the least likable as a character.
Wait, is New Mutants a movie that they're making, or was it a TV show?
I don't even fucking know anymore. I don't really pay attention to the X-Men stuff anymore. It's been so long since there's been any X-Men stuff worth giving a crap about. I know people say Gifted is pretty good. Okay. I'll take your word for it. I don't feel like I miss the X-Men, and that's probably the biggest thing.
I think it's that I'm kind of just exhausted, especially after not Days of Future Past, but after Age of Apocalypse. I was like, fuck you, just unspent. Like, I was like, look, here is an option for you guys. You've got it's like a clean slate. Okay, we can do anything. Oh, we're gonna do that? I guess. Fine. Sure.
Yeah. Shadow hits on my feelings exactly. If DC would stop trying to emulate Marvel, maybe they would do better. The DCU should just be abandoned at this point. And I think they are almost certainly going to
go a different route.
Yeah, do a soft reboot of it. And I know that, like, there's definitely been stuff of Henry Cavill, like, kind of subtly saying that he's not done, but he's not coming out and saying he's not done exactly. So I feel like there is something going on. There's something going on. The full nature of it isn't as simple as he's just done with the character, but we don't know what the whole picture is going to be.
How are you coming over there?
I think I'm good.
close?
No, I think I'm good to stop for
All
tonight.
right, great. Good, because I have to pee, so. we can
Okay,
just-
perfect. Well, I didn't get the whole piece done,
We got a lot of it.
but I got a big ass chunk of it.
Yeah.
This was a super complicated one, though. I didn't. The odds of me finishing it start to stop were
Mutants is
relatively
essentially a
low.
horror movie with mutants? What?
Ugh.
What is the, huh? I gotta watch this trailer, but then not watch this movie.
Yeah.
Because it does not sound like it's for me.
Let me back up and we'll.
So we're gonna.
I'll just give him a
I'm
better
showing what
shot
he's
of
done.
this.
It looks really good, you guys.
It's gonna look even cooler when the highlights come in.
It looks fabulous. Whoever is getting this, I can't remember who ordered it, but whoever's getting
There's
this.
Comfy streaming.
Yes.
She's over there streaming.
I am.
Ha, ha, ha.
I am. This is a true thing.
So yeah, this came out pretty. I'm pretty happy with this.
Oh, awesome sauce. So, you ready to call it?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, I am.
Yes.
Thank you for the patrons who joined on my side, watching me working on this all night. I hope you were
Wait, so you know,
entertained.
get this all
We'll
finished?
probably try this again sometime because it was a pretty
I think
fun
we're
thing to
gonna
do.
try it like once a week.
Yeah, well, I mean, as opposed to, because we wanted to do some kind of special patron streaming thing, but this feels like a good solution because I'm always working while Comfort's working anyway.
Yeah.
Might as well.
And I was fine with
Throw a
like,
camera
reading the comments and stuff enough here.
Yeah.
It slowed down my drawing, but it still was to happen.
Yeah. All right.
So there we go.
I'm trying to align this up, but everything's mirrored, so it's weird.
So, Mr. Withers.
The next Patreon stream, we'll probably stick with Fridays for now. Seems like a good enough day. We'll try and announce, give a little more time next time. I feel like not saying anything about it until Wednesday kind of hurt it, but we'll make a bigger stink. Now that we know that it works, we will try to make more of a thing of it.
I am going to put a link in the stream as per usual for our patron in case anybody wants to join up.
Yeah.
We are
sign in.
starting the stuff for back to school.
We
so
are
Luna,
starting our next special Patreon exclusive
Adam,
sketch
who's the
request.
next person
Do we want to
on the
announce
list?
the
Yeah.
next on the list? I believe. Let me bring it up. On social media,
So we're gonna have to start.
change your Patreon. Our next announcement is Ryuko Matoi from Kill la Kill.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Kill la Kill is going in for the poll for our back to school sketch. So far, the contestants for the poll are Luna Lovegood,
Zach Morris.
Zach Morris from Saved by the Bell, and Ryuko from Kill la Kill. We do have a double header that's going to come up early that people are going to get to decide on. Just generally, it's not going to be a Patreon exclusive choice because we got a couple of characters from the Persona game and we like them both and can't really decide, so we thought we'd let you guys decide. That'll be coming up probably starting next week.
Yep. So there you go.
So yeah,
That's what's going on. And I think we're gonna call it a night, right?
we are indeed. So thanks everybody. Thanks for joining us. Thanks to the patrons for being here on the other side.
Mhm.
Thanks to our Twitchers for keeping things lively over there. This was a really good night.
Yeah. Thank you all. Yay.
And we will see you all again next week.
Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.